3 days. We only have 3 days to find out whether no deal Brexit is happening, at least for now, or not. As you might remember, Boris Johnson announced recently, and David Frost, that this Thursday is when the UK is going to finally give their final deadline to the European Union to decide whether they're going to accept Britain's trade offer. And the European countries are now freaking out. As you can see in the Telegraph, there have been reports that suggest that the EU27 are preparing for no-deal Brexit and the potential chaos that's going to hit Europe. Now, as you remember, since 2016, the narrative in the media was that if no-deal Brexit happens, it will be Britain that will face chaos, not Europe. They said that Europe is united. The European Union are very good at managing these situations. Things are slowly changing because we know now that the EU member states and they have a different strategy obviously throughout the whole thing, and every single one of them had different demands, especially France and Macron, and we're going to talk about that in this video. And now they're scared of this deadline, which might change the whole game. Now, on this channel, as you've seen over the last year or so, we've been keeping you guys posted on the Brexit negotiations and everything else in the news, and especially over the next few days, I'm going to give you quick updates with our countdown. Obviously, right now, we only have 3 days left. Let's see what's been happening today, because the EU diplomats have been gathering everyone that they had in Brussels. One of them has said that we will have a period of chaos. But if we need to see how things evolve and how much it hurts before politicians come to their senses, then so be it. And they said that there's nothing that says that just because there's no deal, there can never be trade negotiations again. Well, that's also true. We could have a scenario where it will not work out in time, but sometime in the future. A lot of Brexiteers said this years ago, that if Britain stays strong, we could make the EU come back and beg. We don't have to be so desperate to beg for a deal right now during the transition period, especially now that we have our own seat at WTO, especially now that we're signing our own independent trade deals with other countries, and they're considering France are an obstacle, and they already have issues with other trade negotiations, especially with the South American countries. The latest that we have about that is that the free trade agreements between the European Union and South American countries are not going too well, because France have said that we won't agree at any price. They've already said, one of the ministers said that, we're not going to sacrifice the French agriculture sector just for free trade. And this is the same France that are now creating obstacles when it comes to Brexit and fisheries so badly that even George Galloway has come out to say he's mocked Macron. He called him, I'm not going to do the name calling like Galloway, but he has predicted the collapse of the European bloc. He's warned that the European Union currently finds itself, obviously throughout the whole, a damaging crisis that not just with the recent economic crisis, but also the Brexit backlash. We could see a situation where people like Emmanuel Macron could trigger the end of the European Union and the European unity. Now, as I said, on this channel, we'll keep you guys posted. Tomorrow, we'll have 2 days left, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel to find out what's happening. Now, it's Monday. We take questions from you guys and members of the channel. Let's go to the first question, see what we have. Ian says, will Boris keep his 15th of October deadline? Well, that's this week. So I really hope so, because on the one hand, they play their card so strongly that it will be slightly embarrassing if they just withdraw the deadline. So the only way that Boris could ignore that deadline is if he could convince the public that he's managed to get a good deal from the European Union. Although don't forget, the whole point of this deadline, this no-deal Brexit deadline, is that the UK government have said if the European Union don't back down on a number of issues like fisheries, then we'll just walk away. The deadline is not necessarily just to sign a trade deal. We still have until the end of December. So I'm not going to make any predictions on this channel. I'm going to try my best to be objective and keep you guys posted every day until that happens or doesn't. Next question from Toten VT says, why is Boris selling out the fishermen with a 3-year extension? So this is one of the, it was all over the news like last couple of weeks, the Brexit outlets. about the fisheries stance that the Boris government has. This was part of one of the alternatives and the compromises that David Frost's team had. They offered it to the EU. They've already rejected it. It's still on the table. I don't like it personally. It's still better than having a permanent free access, but it's simply a negotiating tactic that the government has. That's the whole point of this trade negotiation. Just like any other business negotiations, you have to throw certain things and keep other things. But the problem is when the media are reporting on these things on a daily basis, they look at certain points and they just say, oh, well, that means this is basically going to end badly for us or for them. Just like how we had a couple of months ago, certain people coming out to say that, oh, we've just discovered that Boris Johnson is only going to give us a 60% Brexit deal. That's not a thing. That was never supposed to be a thing. That's just part of the negotiations. Now, next question we have is from Great Cornholio, if I got it right. With the current economic crisis that obviously the world is facing, do you think the EU will be able to survive economically? The debt of the UK is spiraling, so I can only imagine it's much worse for the EU, especially with all of its vanity projects. Well, I mean, the European Union, when it comes to the budgeting, there's a difference between the actual Union and the Commission and what they do, and the Eurozone, the members of the Eurozone. I believe that the Eurozone are in a much worse situation. So because of the way they decided to harmonize finances and the currencies and everything like that, you will probably see a collapse of the Eurozone before you're seeing the collapse of the EU overall. It's not going to happen overnight. They're going to have a period of actual chaos, as they've already admitted. I do believe that these are the final days of the EU, but by days I don't mean literally days. It might take a few years, might take 10 years, but this is not, they've already passed the peak of the European success of this project. I see no one from one of the, like any of the representatives that come from Europe, none of them have any solution to bring Europe together again. They're all divided, they all hate each other, and this Brexit stuff is actually damaging them more than damaging us. So you're absolutely right, it might end at some point, but we don't know when. Next question. Trick Daddy says, love the name. Hey Maya, have you ever had any job? Well, I am 32, so I had to find some ways to feed myself. So yes, I've had many jobs. Obviously, after going to university, and well, before that, I worked in a pizza shop. I made pizzas. I worked in startup companies. I worked in like small businesses and tech. I briefly worked in parliament, politics. Don't like it. And then now I do what I do. We are the media. Next question. John Craig says, hi Maya, is there no end to Macron's stupidity? Is he that frightened of his own fishermen? Maybe France would be better served by a new president. Not to defend Macron, because all the consequences of his policies, especially domestically, is kind of because of him and his team. But France has become such a difficult country over the last couple of decades to manage that all the domestic policies that he came up with, some of them were quite anti-left, some of them were quite left-wing and interventionist, and he's in a situation where he's desperate for support, and that's why he's becoming completely protectionist. He's protecting his fishermen. He's trying to save his agriculture sector and other areas because he knows that he needs all these voting blocks when the time comes. So this is the biggest problem that obviously Macron has. It's not an easy job to be president of France. It's a lot easier to be Boris Johnson, despite the current situation. France is obviously a slightly special country because of all the vested interests, whether you have the actual the financial side or the agriculture side, and all these voting blocks are huge. So Macron's party, considering it's a new party, it's a non-party party, they have to find ways to be protectionist, which is not something that I like or support. So these are all the questions that we have for you guys. As I mentioned, in the next few days, we'll have one video dedicated to the Brexit update because of the countdown that we have. Thursday is a big day, and we'll find out whether the European Union will finally surrender or not. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share the video, and also become a member to get a lot of perks and benefits. And as you know, Tuesdays we have our video Q&A, and that's not just for the members, that's for all of you guys as subscribers. You could find the details in the description. All you have to do is just send in your questions via video selfie, about 20 seconds max. You could either send it to our WhatsApp number or email address, and you could find all the details in the description box, and get your merchandise, because we are the media. I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.